10 ancient discoveries that shocked the world and scientists still can't explain. Cliffs that could lay eggs in the desert 500 million years ago. A blood-red coffin suddenly forced an entire archaeological team to retreat due to danger. A woman, even after more than 700 years, still has clearly visible pores on her skin. Brick houses in the middle of the desert seem to function like lighthouses, guiding lost travelers. And there are ancient mysteries. The more we try to explain them, the more confusing they become. What's even more remarkable is that even to this day, science still has not been able to provide definitive answers for them. Hello and welcome to the Ancient History channel. My friends, if you think history is just a collection of dry numbers and silent timelines locked inside textbooks, then what you're about to hear will completely change the way you see the past. Because out there, across the world, there are ancient traces so strange that even top scientists have spent decades debating them without reaching a final conclusion. In today's video, we are going to embark on a journey to explore 10 ancient phenomena that shock the world and still cannot be fully explained. From nearly perfectly preserved mummies discovered in tombs after hundreds of years, to mysterious structures in the desert and geological formations that look as if they were designed by an invisible hand. There are discoveries that left archaeologists speechless right at the excavation site. There are mysteries that, even with just a single touch of the past, can completely reshape our understanding of ancient civilizations. And the most fascinating part is this: the deeper you go, the more you realize that modern humanity has only scratched a very small part of Earth's history. So what exactly are these mysteries? What has allowed them to survive for hundreds, even thousands of years without ever being fully decoded? Let's dive into each discovery right now. A mass of child mummies in a mysterious tomb in Italy reveals a shocking hidden truth. In what appears to be an ordinary tourist site, there exists a place where hundreds of bodies have remained almost perfectly preserved for centuries, so well preserved that some children still look as if they are simply sleeping. Just hearing that is already chilling, isn't it? Yet this is the reality inside the Capuchin catacombs in Palermo, located in the northern part of the island of Sicily, Italy. This place has long been known as one of the most disturbing sites in Europe, but only recently have scientists begun to seriously investigate a major mystery hidden within it. In a newly launched research phase led by a team of experts headed by Kirsty Squires from Staffordshire University in the United Kingdom, researchers officially conducted field studies to examine the large number of child mummies preserved there. Specifically, out of a total of 163 child mummies scattered throughout the catacombs, 41 bodies were placed in a separate, isolated section. These children became the central focus of the study. As researchers moved deeper into the catacombs, the scene resembled nothing less than a museum of death. The child mummies were still wearing their original clothing, preserved almost completely intact over time. Some were placed in cribs, some were seated on chairs, and others were even propped upright with sticks, as if they were still present in this world. In particular, some of the mummies were so well preserved that they looked like small dolls, a sight that would make anyone feel uneasy. According to historical records, these children were buried between 1787 and 1880. That means they have been resting there for over a century, some nearly 2 centuries. Today, this site is considered one of the largest surviving catacombs containing mummies in Europe. However, what truly challenges researchers is not the number of bodies, but the lack of information. There are almost no detailed records identifying who these children were, their lives, or the causes of their deaths. Nevertheless, according to initial assessments by Kirsty Squires, most of the children likely did not come from poor families. At that time, mummification was not a common practice for everyone. It was typically reserved for wealthier families, such as the nobility, the middle class, or members of the clergy. This suggests that these children may have come from families of certain social standing. But this raises another question. If their families had the means, why were they not buried in the traditional way like everyone else? To find answers, the research team applied a modern, non-invasive method: X-ray imaging. They used portable X-ray devices directly inside the catacombs to analyze each body without disturbing its condition. Through this process, scientists were able to estimate each child's age by examining the development of their teeth and bones. In total, they produced 574 X-ray images to build detailed biological profiles for each mummy. These data allowed researchers to investigate whether mummification was related to age or gender, and also to identify signs of illness, developmental disorders, or injuries the children may have suffered during their lives. Beyond determining causes of death, the researchers also aim to reconstruct the lives of these children, from their nutrition and health conditions to their living environments. In doing so, they hope to uncover a forgotten chapter of history. According to Kirsty Squires, in ancient beliefs, mummification was not merely a method of preserving bodies. It was also a way to preserve social identity after death. Family members could visit and see the familiar appearance of their loved ones, as if they were still present in this world. At this point, you might be wondering, did these children ever live happy lives? Or behind those carefully preserved small bodies, are there untold tragic stories? That question is completely understandable, because both I and the scientists share the same curiosity. Unfortunately, even today, there are still no answers. It remains an unsolved mystery. The 5,000-year-old mysterious face suddenly revealed in an unexpected situation in China. Everything began in April 1981, when the Liaoning Provincial Cultural Relics Survey Team received information from local residents that ancient tombs in the Niu Helong area frequently revealed cultural artifacts. Many people had even discovered jade objects there, a material that has always been highly valuable in Chinese history. This information quickly spread and attracted the attention of archaeologists. By 1983, two archaeologists, Sun Shudao and Guo Dashun, led a large-scale excavation team to the site. Everyone expected this to be an important discovery that could reveal new insights into ancient Chinese history. But the reality at first was completely the opposite. After many days of continuous digging, the team found almost no valuable artifacts. Exhaustion began to set in, and the atmosphere among the excavators gradually became discouraged. However, just when the excavation seemed like it would end in disappointment, an unexpected situation occurred. One evening, while everyone was packing up after a long day of work, a team member went to a secluded spot to relieve himself. And in that very ordinary moment, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine when he noticed a strange face emerging from the soil. At first, he thought he was mistaken, but the unsettling feeling made him gently brush away the surrounding dirt. And then, a pottery human head gradually appeared before his eyes. Without hesitation, he immediately reported it to the team leader. When the experts arrived, they quickly confirmed that this was not an isolated artifact, but part of a much larger statue. This discovery immediately reignited hope. Soon after, archaeologists expanded their search area, and fortunately, they discovered an entire temple dedicated to the Niu Helong goddess, dating back nearly 5,000 years, located near the site. When the information was announced, it shocked not only China but the entire world. According to witnesses at the site, as the head of the statue gradually emerged, everyone held their breath. Not a single word was spoken. Only the soft sound of brushes carefully removing layers of soil could be heard. It felt as if history itself was waking up after thousands of years of silence. After full restoration, the goddess statue stands 8.8 inches tall and about 8.3 inches wide. Its facial features are striking: prominent cheekbones, a slightly upturned nose, wide lips, and most notably, sharp and mysterious eyes filled with authority. On its forehead is a decorative ring, and the eyes are inlaid with round jade pieces about 0.9 inches in diameter, creating a sacred yet enigmatic appearance. Today, the Niu Helong goddess statue is displayed at the Liaoning Provincial Institute of Archaeology in China. It is considered the oldest known ceramic goddess statue ever discovered in the country. Its value is so significant that it has been designated a national treasure and is strictly prohibited from being taken abroad for exhibitions. According to experts, both the statue and the temple belong to the Hongshan culture, a Neolithic culture in northeastern China that emerged thousands of years ago. This is considered one of the earliest civilizations in Chinese history, spanning a wide area from Inner Mongolia to Liaoning. Beyond its unique statues, the Hongshan culture also left behind many important legacies. It produced some of the earliest jade artifacts in history, crafted with extremely sophisticated techniques. Figures such as C-shaped dragons, animals, and humans were created using stone, jade, and even early traces of metals such as copper and copper alloys, something that still puzzles modern scientists regarding their technological level. More notably, Hongshan archaeological sites also provide some of the earliest evidence of feng shui, a famous ancient Chinese philosophical system. The simultaneous appearance of circular and square shapes in ritual centers suggests that the concept of round heaven and square earth had already formed very early, reflecting how ancient people understood their relationship with the universe. From just one accidental moment, an entire ancient civilization seemed to be awakened. What do you think that proves? Doesn't it show that beneath seemingly familiar lands, there are still countless ancient secrets waiting for a chance moment, perhaps even a humorous accident to be revealed? Have you ever experienced a moment like that? If so, feel free to comment and share your story with everyone. The mysterious body in the blood coffin of Inner Mongolia, China, that made archaeologists scream and order an emergency evacuation. Do you think that just one wrong moment could turn an archaeological site into a deadly danger zone? You probably wouldn't believe that, right? Most people assume archaeology is only about the past, something safe, something already buried in history. But if you really think that, then unfortunately, you are mistaken. Why do I say that? Because a story that took place in 2003 at a mining area in Inner Mongolia, China, proved exactly the opposite. There, a dark red coffin was unexpectedly discovered, and no one could have imagined that behind it lay a mystery serious enough to make the entire archaeological team shout a warning. Danger! Retreat immediately! Everything began when local workers, during mining operations, accidentally struck several stone slabs engraved with strange symbols. Sensing that this was not ordinary material, they immediately reported it to the authorities. Not long after, an archaeological team was sent to the mining site in Inner Mongolia, China. At first, no one thought this place was connected to any major historical dynasty. But after careful examination, experts began to recognize the structure of the tomb as clearly belonging to the Liao dynasty, a regime founded by the Khitan people that once had a major influence in Chinese history. Then, as they dug deeper underground, a scene that left everyone frozen in shock appeared. In the cold darkness of the burial chamber stood a dark red coffin. That red color was unlike anything natural. It was so deep and intense that under excavation lights it looked like blood. Because of this, researchers gave it a chilling name, the blood coffin. The coffin was decorated with golden phoenix patterns, both majestic and mysterious, in a way that was difficult to explain. But what truly drew attention was not only the coffin itself, but the body inside. It was a female corpse, carefully covered across the face. From the burial style, decorative patterns, and tomb layout, archaeologists believed she was very likely a woman of high noble status within the Liao royal family. However, the real mystery only began when deeper examinations were conducted. During the initial analysis phase, the team used X-ray scanning on the body. On the screen, multiple black spots of different sizes suddenly appeared, with no clear pattern. This immediately created a tense atmosphere. Then came the decisive moment. One team member carefully lifted the cloth covering the woman's face. Instantly, an unknown liquid suddenly began to flow out from inside the coffin. For a few seconds, no one reacted, but a sense of danger quickly spread across the site. One expert suspected it could be mercury, a highly toxic substance that can be extremely dangerous if inhaled or exposed under unsafe conditions. Immediately, an emergency order was issued. Danger! Evacuate immediately! The entire archaeological team quickly withdrew from the coffin area, leaving the site to specialized hazardous materials personnel following strict safety procedures. Fortunately, thanks to the fast response, no one was injured. But the presence of mercury raised a series of major questions. Where did it come from, and why was it inside the coffin? At first, there was a theory that the woman might have ingested mercury to end her own life. However, later analyses quickly rejected this idea. When the mercury was accounted for, the black spots on the X-ray images also disappeared, showing that they were not physical objects in the body, but rather imaging artifacts related to the mercury. More importantly, tests showed that the mercury concentration in her hair was twice as high as in the abdominal area, something completely inconsistent with a suicide hypothesis. If she had truly ingested it, the highest concentration should have been in the stomach area. From this, experts proposed a new interpretation. Mercury may have been used as a preservation method to slow down decomposition. In many ancient burial practices, especially among the nobility, mercury was indeed used for similar purposes. So who exactly was the woman in the blood coffin? Based on historical comparisons, many researchers believe she may have been the younger sister of Yelu Abaoji, the founding emperor of the Liao dynasty. According to historical records, after the emperor's death, the burial process was delayed, and mercury may have been used to preserve the body during that time. If this theory is correct, then the tomb in Inner Mongolia is not only the resting place of a noble woman, but also a reflection of a hidden political tragedy behind imperial power. This woman is believed to have had a husband who was executed for treason, and she herself was also implicated, leading to an unfortunate and unresolved fate. However, it is important to note that all of this remains only a hypothesis proposed by researchers. To this day, no conclusive evidence has been found, and because of that, this mystery remains unsolved even now. 700-year-old ancient coffin containing an intact mummy with visible pores and an object in its hand. There are archaeological discoveries that make people fall silent from the very first moment, not out of fear, but because it feels like touching a fragment of time itself. There are also moments in archaeology that make people pause for a few seconds and ask themselves, what am I really looking at? And the story that took place in 1988 in Dian County, Jiangxi Province, China, is exactly one of those moments, where a 700-year-old ancient coffin opened up an entire world that left experts completely stunned. Everything began quite normally. During a construction project, local workers unexpectedly discovered a strange object buried deep underground. As they dug further, they realized it was a large wooden coffin, carefully and deliberately buried. Without delay, the site was reported to authorities, and an archaeological team quickly arrived to begin excavation. Then, once the surrounding soil was removed, experts confirmed that the tomb dated back to the Southern Song dynasty, 1127 to 1279. Unlike many ancient tombs that usually contain only skeletal remains, this coffin still preserved many artifacts and intact traces. Inside the tomb were various burial items such as wooden combs, hairpins, incense burners, silver cosmetic boxes, and gold-plated silverware. All of these clearly indicated that the tomb owner was not an ordinary person, but someone of high status and considerable wealth in society at that time. However, what made the discovery truly remarkable was not these objects. Inside the burial chamber, archaeologists also found a silk star map about 6.6 feet long and more than 1.6 feet wide. On it, the Milky Way was clearly illustrated in the center, surrounded by about 57 stars connected with relatively precise straight lines. According to researchers, this is an extremely rare star map from the Southern Song dynasty and holds great value for the history of ancient Chinese astronomy. But even all of these discoveries were not the most shocking part. The moment that truly made the entire archaeological team fall silent came when the coffin lid was opened. Archaeologists reported that inside, they saw the remains of a woman who had been buried for more than 700 years. Despite the passage of such a long time, the body was preserved in an astonishing condition. The skin had turned dark gray, but many details were still clearly visible. Her hair, teeth, and fingernails remained almost intact. According to some archaeological records, even the pores on the skin could still be observed, a phenomenon extremely rare, especially in the hot and humid climate of Jiangxi Province, where bodies normally decompose very quickly. Can you imagine that? A body after more than 7 centuries still preserving such tiny details. According to the inscription on the tombstone, the woman's surname was Jo. She died in Zhejiang in April and was buried in September of the same year. This means her body was preserved for about 5 months before the official burial. Experts believe that her family may have used special preservation methods that helped keep the body in an almost intact state before interment. The woman was identified as coming from a wealthy and noble family during the Southern Song dynasty and died at just over 30 years old. Another detail that intrigued researchers was the fact that she was still holding a peach branch in her hand, with 2 sticky rice dumplings tied to it, known in Chinese culture as zongzi. According to historical records, this is an extremely rare find in burial archaeology. These 2 dumplings are around 700 years old and are currently considered the oldest known rice dumplings ever discovered. So the question is, what do they mean? Some theories suggest they may have been part of a funeral ritual or folk belief during the Southern Song dynasty. However, even today, the exact meaning of the peach branch and the two dumplings has not been fully decoded, and that is also what archaeologists find most regrettable. 600-year-old castle, buried beneath a hotel floor in France. It may sound unbelievable, but right beneath the foundation of a peaceful hotel in the city of Vannes, in northwestern France, lies an entire historical story stretching back more than 600 years. And what is truly surprising is not only what was discovered, but also how an entire forgotten structure, buried for centuries, suddenly came to light by pure coincidence. The story began when researchers conducted a ground survey beneath a hotel that was originally an old mansion known as Château Lagorce, built in the 18th century in this city. The initial purpose was simply to inspect the site before converting it into an art museum. But no one expected that during this routine inspection, they would accidentally uncover the first traces of an ancient structure hidden deep underground. The deeper they dug, the more fascinating the story became. During the first phase of excavation in the hotel courtyard, archaeologists discovered 2 layers of fortified defensive walls and a moat located about 13 feet below the current ground level. These remains were not ordinary ruins. They were clear evidence that a medieval castle once stood here, built in the 14th century. And speaking of Vannes, it is not an unfamiliar place in history. This city was once an important center of a medieval duchy known as Bro Wened, or Bro Ereg, meaning the land of Guereg. So, discovering traces of an ancient castle here was not entirely surprising to archaeologists. But what truly left them stunned was the fact that the entire structure had been lying beneath a modern hotel all along, completely unknown for centuries. As excavations continued, researchers identified the site as Château de l'Hermine, a more than 600-year-old castle built in the late 14th century by John IV, Duke of Brittany. His goal in constructing the castle was to strengthen central authority, control the duchy, and assert his power in Vannes. What remains suggests that the castle once had 3 to 4 floors, with staircases still relatively well preserved. In addition, the stone surfaces still bear traces of intricate decorative carvings, as well as auxiliary structures such as toilets and drainage systems, showing the remarkable level of architectural development at the time. But the discovery did not stop there. What truly brought the excavation to life were the artifacts uncovered. A large number of everyday objects from the 15th and 16th centuries were revealed, including coins, knives, roof tiles, wooden bowls, and kitchen utensils. In particular, thanks to favorable soil conditions, many items such as clothing, shoe buckles, pins, rings, and locks were preserved in astonishing condition. It felt almost like opening a time portal, each small object telling the story of people who lived here hundreds of years ago. And there is more. Archaeologists also discovered traces of a workshop located next to the castle's residential area. A large well supplied by a canal system, along with the remains of a bridge that once connected the castle to the old town, were also found. All of these details help recreate a vivid picture of how society was organized, how people lived, and how life functioned in medieval Vannes. Just imagine, right beneath the feet of hotel guests who once stayed there lies an entire ancient world. Once vibrant, once powerful, and then forgotten by time. Doesn't this discovery show that it is not just an archaeological excavation, but more like a gateway into the past, helping us better understand the life, power, and untold stories of French history? Every stone, every artifact carries the marks of time, like puzzle pieces slowly completing a picture of a civilization buried for centuries. What do you think? And how many more secrets like this are still lying beneath the ground, waiting to be discovered one day? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. 2,000-year-old tomb, filled with artifacts and human remains beneath the ground of Malta. Hey, have you ever wondered what would happen if one day, simply digging a drainage pipe accidentally uncovered an entire ancient world buried for 2,000 years? It sounds like a movie plot, right? But this actually happened in real life on the island of Malta, a country located in the Mediterranean Sea, already well known for its long history and unsolved mysteries. The story began recently when a drainage system expansion project was being carried out in Malta. At first, everything proceeded like any ordinary construction work. But then, while digging deeper into the ground, workers suddenly discovered a strange structure. That moment opened the door to a 2,000-year-old ancient tomb. When archaeologists quickly arrived at the site and began excavation, they were completely astonished by what they saw. Inside the tomb was a space filled with large and small jars, packed tightly together as if they had been resting there for millennia, waiting to be discovered. What makes this even more remarkable is that these jars were not just decorative objects. Many of them contained cremated human remains. These remains were identified as belonging to both adults and children, suggesting that this was not a simple burial site, but possibly an ancient family or community cemetery. Just imagining the atmosphere inside the tomb is enough to send chills down your spine, because each jar was not only a container, but also a vessel holding the memories of people who lived 2,000 years ago. As researchers continued their analysis, they discovered even more fascinating details. The burial goods inside the tomb were extremely diverse, ranging from everyday items to objects with spiritual significance. The most notable among them were amphorae, large ceramic vessels with a wide body, narrow neck, and two characteristic handles commonly found across many ancient Mediterranean civilizations. In addition, the ancient people also carefully placed finely crafted perfume bottles inside the tomb, along with various objects believed to be intended for use in the afterlife. These details reveal the strong belief of people at that time in life after death, that death was not an end, but rather a transition to another journey. With a history of around 2,000 years, all the artifacts discovered in this tomb are now considered an invaluable archaeological treasure. Each object is not only material evidence, but also a piece of the puzzle that helps us better understand the daily life, beliefs, and culture of an ancient civilization. The owners of this tomb were none other than the Punic people, a civilization that once flourished in the Mediterranean region. According to records from the Malta Historical Society, several Punic tombs had already been discovered in the area, providing valuable insight into this distinctive culture. The Punic people were not a single unified nation, but rather a network of independent city-states. They were well known for their maritime trade, glass-blowing techniques that produced exceptionally clear and refined glassware, and highly advanced pottery craftsmanship. Because of this, the artifacts found in this tomb further strengthen our understanding of a once prosperous civilization that remains relatively unknown today. Currently, all excavated artifacts have been transported to laboratories for further analysis. Scientists hope that through deeper research, they will be able to uncover more mysteries about the life, death, and beliefs of people who lived 2,000 years ago. As you can see, from something as ordinary as a drainage construction project, people accidentally came into contact with an entire world that had been asleep for millennia. Fascinating, isn't it? Mysterious 2,000-year-old pyramid-like structure suddenly emerges beneath a construction site in China. It sounds like something that could only exist in distant Egypt, but this time, a pyramid-shaped structure appeared in Jung Jo, Henan Province, China. And what makes it even more surprising is that it was not found in a desert, but buried beneath an active construction site. The story began when staff from the Jung Jo Cultural Relics Bureau conducted a land survey before construction work. At that moment, they unexpectedly discovered an ancient burial site with a highly unusual shape. When the information spread, local residents were shocked. No one could have imagined that right beneath what was once an old village, now relocated to make way for a new residential area, there was such an ancient hidden secret. According to reports, the tomb complex is located about 0.6 miles west of the Sinai Grove area, near the famous Yellow River, the cradle of many ancient Chinese civilizations. And as excavation continued, what was revealed made people widen their eyes in disbelief. It turned out this was not just a single grave, but an entire burial complex containing two different burial structures. One of them had the shape of a small pyramid, while the other resembled a half-cylinder form, strange enough already just to imagine. Because of this unusual design, Chinese media quickly named it the Jung Jo Pyramid. However, compared to the massive pyramids of Egypt, this structure is much smaller. But it should not be underestimated, because its value lies in how extremely rare this type of architecture is in China. The entire tomb complex measures about 98 feet long and 26 feet wide, built along an east-west axis. A narrow passage leads deep inside, opening into a main chamber where the pyramid-shaped tomb is located. Just imagining it is enough to create a sense of suspense, as if stepping into a space forgotten by time for thousands of years. A local resident who witnessed it firsthand could not hide his astonishment when he told reporters, "This is truly amazing. I have never seen anything like this. It looks like an Egyptian pyramid." Hearing that, you can probably already picture how shocking this discovery was. Not only residents, but even workers guarding the excavation site made an important observation. The tomb may be more than 2,000 years old. If that is true, then it would date back to ancient times and could even be linked to significant periods in Chinese history. Unfortunately, as of now, archaeologists have not yet conducted detailed scientific analysis. This means many questions remain unanswered. Exactly when was this tomb built? Who was its owner? And most importantly, why was it designed in a pyramid-like shape, an architectural style not commonly found in Chinese culture? While the public is still fascinated by the discovery, experts have offered an interesting perspective. According to the Henan Cultural Bureau, circular tombs with vaulted ceilings are not entirely rare. They often appeared after the Han Dynasty, roughly from 206 BC to 220 AD, and were mostly built with bricks. This raises the possibility that the Jung Jo pyramid may actually be a unique variation of a traditional vaulted tomb, redesigned in a more creative form. But if that is the case, what inspired ancient people to choose such an unusual design? Did it carry special spiritual meaning or reflect the status of the person buried inside? The more you think about it, the more mysterious it becomes. A structure buried underground for over 2 millennia has suddenly reappeared, bringing with it countless unanswered questions. And perhaps the most intriguing mystery is not the shape of the tomb itself, but the story of the person inside it. Was it a powerful figure, a wealthy noble, or simply an ordinary person given an extraordinary burial? So what do you think? What would it mean if one day all these mysteries were finally solved? 25 giant geoglyphs in the Peruvian desert. On May 28, 2018, the Ministry of Culture of Peru stunned archaeologists and history enthusiasts around the world by announcing a groundbreaking discovery: 25 giant geoglyphs carved into the desert landscape near the town of Palpa. What makes this discovery especially remarkable is that these images were not found accidentally during a walk or through satellite photos, as had been the case before. Instead, they were discovered using drone technology. This stands as clear evidence of how archaeology in the 21st century is evolving, with modern technology gradually replacing traditional methods to unlock the mysteries of human history. Beyond their impressive size and intricate detail, the newly discovered geoglyphs in Palpa also reveal an unexpected story. They do not belong to the famous Nazca civilization known for its mysterious geoglyphs, but instead to an even older culture, the Paracas people. Dating back more than 2,000 years, these drawings are several centuries older than the Nazca lines, which are among Peru's most well-known archaeological wonders. This revelation is significant not only for its historical importance, but also because it challenges our understanding of the cultural and technological development of the Paracas civilization, which has long been overshadowed by the Nazca culture. Looking closer at the details, among the 25 geoglyphs discovered are several unique and unfamiliar symbols: a woman with graceful flowing lines, a dancing monkey that appears almost as if it is performing a sacred ritual, unusual numerical-like patterns resembling mystical symbols, and most notably, an orca whale, an animal that the Paracas people considered a semi-divine spirit. These images have never been seen in any previous archaeological findings, and their uniqueness has led researchers to reconsider the symbolic world of the Paracas culture. Did they possess a more complex belief system than previously thought? Did they have a method of expressing ideas and communicating messages that went beyond spoken language? Another striking feature of the Palpa geoglyphs is that they can be seen directly from the ground, unlike the Nazca lines, which can only be fully appreciated from the air. This not only makes them easier to study and analyze, but also raises an interesting possibility. Perhaps the Paracas people did not need an aerial perspective to create or observe these designs. So what was their true purpose? Were they part of religious rituals, a way to communicate with deities, or simply a form of expressing power and knowledge within an advanced society? According to archaeologist Johnny Isla from Peru's Ministry of Culture, the giant desert geoglyphs remain one of the greatest mysteries in archaeology. Over decades, hundreds of theories have been proposed, from astronomical calendars and ceremonial pathways to even extraterrestrial explanations. But no one has been able to definitively explain why ancient people created such enormous figures or how they have survived for thousands of years under extreme natural conditions. Because of this, the Palpa discovery is not just about finding new desert drawings. It is a valuable key that opens a doorway to the past, offering archaeologists new clues to better understand both the Paracas and Nazca civilizations, two essential pieces of Peru's pre-Columbian history. Those strange lines, those ritual-like symbols, are living evidence of the extraordinary creativity of ancient humans. They remind us of something important. Even as our understanding of the world evolves, ancient civilizations still have much to teach us about intelligence, belief, and the ability to inspire beyond the limits of time and space. 500-million-year-old egg-laying cliff in China, and the explanation that still confuses scientists. Did you know that in the Qianan Autonomous Prefecture in Guizhou Province, southwestern China, there is a phenomenon so strange that just hearing about it can give you chills out of pure curiosity? For a long time, local residents have passed down stories about a mysterious cliff where rocks do not simply remain still, but seem to be giving birth to stone eggs over time. This cliff is called Chandaya, which literally means egg-laying cliff. Even the name itself already sounds strange, but what surprises people even more is what is happening on its surface. If you stand in front of this cliff, about 8 feet tall and roughly 62 feet long, you will see round, smooth stone formations emerging from the rough surface, like giant eggs half embedded in the rock face. Some are small, some are large, scattered as if someone deliberately placed them there. But the strange part is that over time, they do not stay fixed. They gradually grow until they can no longer cling to the cliff, and then they fall to the ground. It is almost as if the cliff is quietly giving birth in cycles. And that is not all. Villagers from nearby Gulu say something even more unbelievable. About every 30 years, Chandaya produces a new batch of stone eggs. This pattern has repeated across generations, making the site both a geological curiosity and a mystery that no one fully understands. So what exactly is this phenomenon? Geologists have studied it for decades, but the answer has never been complete. The deeper they investigate, the more they realize that this cliff story does not begin in the present, but 500 million years ago, during the Cambrian period, a time when Earth was experiencing one of its greatest bursts of biological evolution. Rewinding back to that time, today's Guizhou region was actually covered by a vast ancient ocean. Beneath the sea, particles of silicon dioxide floated in the water and gradually bonded together. Over time, they formed small spherical masses, which were then compressed over millions of years into metamorphic rock. The underwater environment naturally shaped them into smooth, rounded forms, as if they had been polished by endless waves over millions of years. But the story does not end there. When the ancient ocean eventually retreated, the area slowly rose into land. These silicon dioxide rock formations became trapped inside layers of limestone, a softer rock formed from sediments like sand, soil, and small rock fragments, which erodes much more easily. And this is the key point. Over time, wind, rain, and erosion gradually wore away the weaker limestone. However, the stone eggs inside were much harder and far more resistant. As the outer layer slowly disappeared, these round stones began to emerge. Eventually, at certain points, they would break free and fall from the cliff. From a geological perspective, this is simply a difference in erosion rates between two types of rock. But what still confuses scientists is, why are these stones so perfectly spherical in the first place? And why does such a large geological area contain this unusual mixture of limestone and embedded formations? No one has been able to provide a definitive answer. Meanwhile, local people interpret the phenomenon very differently. For them, these stone eggs are not just natural formations, but also carry spiritual meaning. Many families in Gulu village believe they bring luck and protection. In fact, among roughly 125 households in the area, almost every home keeps at least one stone egg as a protective charm passed down through generations. A cliff less than 10 feet high and under 66 feet long holds a story spanning 500 million years, from ancient oceans and massive geological shifts to folk beliefs that still exist today. So what do you think about this phenomenon? Do we truly understand Chandaya, or are we only looking at the surface of a much deeper mystery? And if you had the chance, would you visit Chandaya to witness the mystery of these egg-laying cliffs with your own eyes? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Brick houses, with many holes in the Sinai Desert, Egypt. In the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, there is a landscape that, at first glance, looks like abandoned ruins scattered across the desert. But the closer you get and the more carefully you observe, the more you notice something strange. In this nearly lifeless, arid land, small brick houses appear, scattered like mysterious dots forgotten by time. They are not tall, only about 6 to 7 feet. They are not luxurious or solidly built, and most of them have deteriorated over time. But it is precisely this imperfection that raises questions among researchers. Why do such unusual structures exist in such a harsh desert environment? The answer leads us back to the people who have lived with this desert for thousands of years: the Bedouin, Arab nomadic tribes. The Bedouin, often referred to as desert dwellers, are communities whose history is deeply tied to life on vast sandy landscapes. They do not stay in one fixed place, but move according to seasons, water sources, and ancient migration routes that have existed for centuries. Some of their nomadic journeys could stretch up to 620 miles, showing just how difficult their lives were. Because of these long distances and the harsh environment, they came up with a very clever solution: building small brick houses along their travel routes. But these were not houses meant for permanent living in the traditional sense. If you look closely at their structure, you will see that the base is usually a rectangular shape, topped with a dome-like roof. Most notably, both the walls and the roof are filled with many small holes. These holes were not decorative. They served important functions related to wind, light, and especially communication signals. What is even more interesting is that not all of these houses are identical. There are differences in size, shape, and layout. This suggests they were not built by a single group, but by different Bedouin communities over various periods. So what were these structures really used for? The answer may surprise you. They functioned as lighthouses in the desert. Before the age of GPS and modern navigation systems, traveling through the desert was like moving through a sea of sand with no landmarks. A small deviation could completely disorient a traveler, especially during sandstorms that could block all visibility. In such conditions, the Bedouin created a navigation system based on light and the positioning of these brick houses. When needed, people inside could light a fire, and the light would shine through the small holes in the walls and domed roof, creating signals visible from a distance. At that moment in the vast desert, these houses acted like lighthouses at sea, guiding lost travelers back to safety. No maps, no modern technology, just flickering firelight passing through small openings in brick walls telling travelers, there are people here and there is a way out of the desert. Even though modern GPS technology has replaced many ancient navigation routes today, these structures still remain scattered across the Sinai Desert. They no longer serve their original purpose, but they stand as silent witnesses to a highly creative ancient navigation system. From afar, they may look like meaningless ruins, but once you understand their story, you realize they are not just old bricks. They are part of a survival network created by humans in one of the harshest environments on Earth. The Sinai Desert remains as vast as an endless sea of sand. But thanks to these lighthouses made of clay and brick, people once managed to cross it, live within it, and connect with each other through light in the darkness. All of this shows just how patient, creative, and intelligent the Bedouin people were in finding ways to survive and live in harmony with such a harsh natural environment, doesn't it? My friends, looking back at all the discoveries we've just explored, you can see that history is far from closed as we often imagine. It is still out there somewhere, beneath the ground, on cliff faces, or sealed within layers of coffins that have remained silent for hundreds or even thousands of years. Each discovery is not just an archaeological piece of evidence, but also a reminder that modern humans still have a great deal to understand about their own past. And who knows, right at this very moment, somewhere on Earth, another new mystery may already be waiting to be awakened. What do you think? Or do you have a different perspective? If so, don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy journeys like this, Don't forget to follow the Ancient History channel by subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you can continue discovering stories that still remain beyond explanation. And for now, goodbye and see you next time.